Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my goodness, what are we watching? Hey guys, Brett Tremblay, and today we're going to review the legal aspects of the documentary that the world can't get enough of. That's Netflix's The Tiger King. I'm super excited. Let's go. So, The Tiger King. Wow, what a fascinating documentary, and it was a distraction that most of us didn't know we needed. So once again, thank you, Netflix. Now, as I was watching the show, I was really taken aback by starting in episode 4, the tale of the lawsuits and what happened, and eventually leading to Carole Baskin and Big Cat Rescue having a judgment on Joe Exotic, which eventually derailed his entire kingdom, if you will. So what we did is we went and found the court records, and we have them for you today. We're going to analyze the cases and the causes of action and what actually went down, and explain to you the difference between copyrights and trademarks, and really dig into the legal aspects so that we can unravel exactly how the parties ended up where they did. And remember, this is real life. This is not reviewing a TV show that takes liberties. These are real life litigants, and I want to talk a little bit about the behind the scenes and what can happen in leading to certain decisions. So in my opinion, Joe Exotic was doing fine for himself until he went down this very expensive and ultimately business ending lawsuit and legal battle with Carole Baskin, which he didn't need to do. And that's, to me, where the whole show fell apart. So let's take a step back and just talk about the show in general for those of you maybe who are watching who haven't seen the whole thing or only seen clips. You have Joe Exotic, who was a big cat and really rare animal, exotic animal zoo owner, if you can call it that, in Oklahoma, and Carole Baskin of Big Cat Rescue, who has a sanctuary in Florida, in Tampa, and she rescues big cats and lets them, I guess, live there. If you're wondering why we blurred the photo of Carole Baskin, it's because if you look into her history, she is rather litigious. But I just want to make a quick side note and say two things. One, after the documentary, Carole Baskin is now a public figure, so she's fair game for analysis. And two, those images are owned by Netflix, and we're using them not for commercial purposes, but for education purposes. Therefore, they're fair game. So don't even think about it, Carole. I'm serious. But she's against breeding cats, and Joe Exotic and some of the other characters on the show, they actually breed cats, which is where the big controversy comes into play. So the show has them going back and forth. I mean, they hate each other. They are at each other's throats, and you've got, pictures and allegations, and Joe Exotic is trying to make his own TV show happen, and he has clips of him pretending to shoot Carole Baskin, and it just is wild and heavy. But none of that precipitated any of the legal action. Let's see what actually happened in the lawsuit.
Was to rename his traveling show Big Cat Rescue Entertainment.
He did that as a ploy to help his ratings on the internet.
Where did you get the name? Where did you get the idea for the name?
Big Cat Rescue Entertainment. I mean, we're the biggest in the United States of rescuing big cats.
Joe has an explanation for everything, by the way. I love this.
Okay.
Here's our logo, all right? And here is what he started using. Notice that the entertainment below is a bit faded, so you don't even see it.
Now, this is super important. Pay attention between the difference between the words Big Cat Rescue, or the name of the nonprofit, and the logo itself. What happened, as we just showed you, is Big Cat Rescue in Tampa had been operating since 1995, and Joe would go around and take the tigers to the public and make money off of it, but he named that business, or renamed that business, Big Cat Rescue Entertainment. So that's where the controversy comes into play. All right, so now let's focus on the legal actions between Big Cat Rescue and Big Cat Rescue Entertainment and Joe Exotic. And by the way, this is the analysis that needs to happen before an entity or person files a lawsuit. One, if you can actually win on the merits. Two, if you have enough money to win, because you're in federal court with a copyright or a trademark action. It's very expensive. And three, whether you can actually collect on the judgment if you win, because getting the court to say you're right, you're owed a bunch of money, doesn't matter if the person or the entity you're suing doesn't have any assets. In fact, we have an entire second episode just on the judgment and a little bit about the bankruptcy and how Carole Baskin was able to go into Oklahoma and take all of Joe's assets and really bankrupt him. So stay tuned for the second episode as we talk more about what happens after you get a judgment and how you can just ruin somebody's life and what happened to Joe Exotic. So in the documentary, they show that the logos and the words are very similar, Big Cat Rescue and Big Cat Rescue Entertainment, but then they go on to spend a lot of time mentioning a copyright lawsuit. Let's watch.
We couldn't sue him over the cub petting. We didn't have standing to do that, but we could sue him for violating our copyright.
Yeah, so there you have it. So they mentioned going after Joe Exotic for copyright, but the thing is, copyright lawsuits don't usually end in million-dollar judgments and bankrupt somebody, especially here when we're talking about taking just a photo and posting it on Facebook and different places. That Joe Exotic did put it online, which he admitted to, but I'm thinking something's not adding up here. Let's go through the court case and let's talk about what happened. And you can see here, the original action filed was in fact a trademark lawsuit. And the way that Netflix put the documentary together, they kind of mention trademark here and there, and they focus on the logo and the name, which is a trademark issue, but then they kind of spin it off into talking about the pictures of the bunnies that have blood on them and some other things that Joe Exotic posted. And the show makes it look like summary judgment was laid down and then Joe Exotic was done. And that's, again, not actually what happened. So let's talk about the difference between a trademark and a copyright lawsuit. What a trademark does is it protects your name and a logo. So you can imagine Coca-Cola, Pepsi, they have trademark protection not only on the name or the words Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola, but actually on the colors and the design and the fonts and the way it all comes together. You can apply for trademark protection for the purpose of protecting the public, which is what this all comes down to. The argument is that it would cause confusion to the public if another entity could just use the words Coca-Cola and now you're not sure what you're buying. A copyright, on the other hand, protects a book, a video, a movie. You get an automatic copyright in any of your literary works. So if I take a picture and I post it online, I have an automatic copyright on that. But 99.9% of people never file for a copyright because you have copyright protection. Copyright actions are not huge unless you're talking about violation of a major copyright like a motion picture. All right, so after digging through the legal actions between Carole Baskin and Joe Exotic, we finally figured out what happened. And there was a lot of court filing. This was heavily litigated for several years. The very first action filed by Big Cat Rescue and Carole Baskin was a trademark lawsuit in 2009. But here's what's really interesting about that lawsuit filing and why, other than just being really aggressive and having good lawyers, Big Cat Rescue then tacked on 2 additional copyright lawsuits in federal court after the original trademark filing, is because, as you can see here, in paragraph 12 of the complaint, Big Cat Rescue actually disclaims exclusive use of the words Big Cat Rescue. So in 2004, they applied for a trademark on the logo only, and that is a really big development, which could have played out with a really good trial and some fireworks in this case if Joe Exotic had not just given up. You might be wondering why Carole Baskin and Big Cat Rescue didn't apply for a trademark on the name Big Cat Rescue. We don't know unless we would ask them, and no offense, don't want any part of that business. But there is a common strategy to apply for a trademark for a logo, which includes the words that you want to use and trademark, but not apply for the trademark on those words yet. Because if you get the trademark on the logo, you do have a better claim at getting the trademark on the words. But as of 2009, the words Big Cat Rescue were not a trademark, officially registered trademark owned by anyone. So here's where it gets fun. They argued common law trademark over Big Cat Rescue. Now, what does that mean? There's an argument that you can make if you have been using words or a combination of words in commerce, in the public for many years, and the term or the phrase is pervasive, continued, and exclusive. And if you can show those things, pervasive, continued, and exclusive use over a word or a series of words in commerce for a lot of years, you're the only ones, you're the exclusive entity or person using those words, and you continually use those words, meaning the public is basically on notice. They identify those words with you, and if anyone else is allowed to use those words that it would cause confusion to the public, you can argue, kind of backdoor your way into having trademark protection, and that is what Carole Baskin and her lawyers did. Now we know a little bit about the difference between copyrights and trademarks, and then we have what for Joe Exotic became known as Judgment Day. Let's watch.
And we had filed a motion for summary judgment, and
there you see the signature by the judge, and they show you, they fade into the words granted. And now we have breaking news, and Joe Exotic hit with a big judgment. Now you have Joe Exotic lose the entire lawsuit, but here's what actually went down, what really happened. The judge enters an order finding in favor of Big Cat Rescue and against Joe Exotic on the copyrights. But the thing is, in the trademark action, Joe Exotic got hit with only a partial summary judgment. Under the trademark violation, him and his attorneys filed what's called a counterclaim, meaning I'm not going to just defend myself, I'm going to affirmatively sue you back and claim that you are causing me damages and you owe me money. He couldn't prove any of his counterclaims, and the court entered summary judgment only against the counterclaims. And again, I just think that's such a big distinction here. So the way that Big Cat Rescue's lawyers lined it up is within about a month-and-a-half period, they got summary judgment on all three lawsuits, on both copyrights lawsuits and on the trademark action. And again, ending the copyright cases, but those shouldn't have been huge money cases, and then ending Joe's counterclaims, and then it looks like he lost everything, but he really didn't. I think what happened here is that Joe Exotic, he just ran out of money and he gave up. And you see in the documentary where he says, well, I don't own anything anyway, they can't come after me.
I don't own anything. This bus is not mine. Those cars are not mine. I'm not stupid.
Yeah, well, he didn't really hide his assets, and that's why we get into the second episode. But Joe Exotic essentially gave up. He agreed to consent judgments. We didn't have a final judgment on the merits. And we'll show you here, we have consent judgments where Joe Exotic and his attorney said, take it. Just, I'm done with this lawsuit. I will consent to the court entering a judgment against me. And so when you total up all three lawsuits, the first copyright action, Big Cat Rescue got a judgment of $50,000, not a big deal. On the second copyright action, they got a judgment for $25,000. So now you're talking about a total of $75,000, but the trademark action, which is what I've been saying, that's the big one, the one you have to watch out for. That, because of the consent judgment, was a $950,000 judgment.
Say what?
Against Joe Exotic. And after that, everything crumbles for him. If you look in some of the court filings, he went through gobs and gobs of attorneys and law firms, probably still owes them a ton of money, and nobody would take his case anymore, and he had to just give up at that point. So there you have it. Very effective use by Carole Baskin and her attorneys at the court system. Of course, they had the deeper pockets, and that's normally what will cause a case to turn one way or the other, unfortunately. Which takes us to episode 2. We're going to get into the judgment. We're going to get into him, Joe Exotic, being chased into Oklahoma, Carole Baskin being able to grab assets, and that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. So please subscribe to our channel so we can do this more. Like the video, hate the video. Please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear more. And if there's another topic you want us to touch upon, legally speaking, with regards to Tiger King, let us know. Thank you so much for watching.